Yeah, so I grew up in a culture, a working class culture, where it wasn't really encouraged to ask questions, not too many questions. And I certainly wasn't taught to ask questions about myself. And so cut forward about 20 years, and I was experiencing a huge disconnect from who I really was. And it was through a chance meeting with somebody, and he asked me a very deep question about why I was taking drugs, why I was putting poison into my body. And up until that point, I'd never questioned my addiction. I'd never sat down and asked myself, why am I doing this to myself? I considered that I might have an addiction issue, and I've been to some AA stuff and spoke about addiction with some friends, but it was that question that really landed and switched something within me. And then I was like, wow. And so since then, I've always turned questions into myself, rather than complain about what's happening in the world or issues that I've been facing. I recognize how I feel in reaction to things, and then as soon as I kind of twist that in on myself, and I'm like, what is this teaching me? What can I find out about myself? Why am I having these feelings? Where are these feelings in my body? And I kind of got a bit obsessed with my mind, into wanting to question everything. Then I'd found this aspect of the inner world, and was like, wow, this is something that I'm with constantly and I don't know anything about. So my mind was like, I want to understand it, even to the point where people were telling me, you can't figure this out, you can't understand what's happening, and it's all just spirit, it's all just healing. And I didn't, my mind wouldn't settle for that. I was like, no, there's always questions, and if there's a question, then it can be answered. And I haven't got to the point where I've asked a question and there isn't an answer, and whether that's coming from deep within me, or whether it's coming from a connection to a higher frequency of consciousness that's like outside of my mind, and there always seems to be some sort of answer, even if it's not an answer that I can tangibly kind of understand. It might just be a subtle feeling, or a shift, or an awareness of something new. But yeah, there's always been an answer given. And what's interesting is, I guess in more traditional spiritual pathways, this would be seen as prayer and speaking to God. And so my understanding is that we can ask in any direction, and the conscious awareness that is there will provide us with some sort of answer, whether it is directly or kind of quite subtly or symbolically. So in terms of how this then kind of defines meaning and a narrative of a greater power, I think that's going to be very subjective for everybody. But I think what is evident is that when we ask, the answers can be found. And so, yeah, I really believe that when we turn our awareness in and we build this relationship of asking and listening and receiving answers, then that becomes a guidance, another source of information that we can use to navigate our life and the events that are happening in our lives.